Hi, we're Harriet and Mauro, and 4 years ago we bought this abandoned 4-acre farm in the hills of eastern Spain. After getting the little stone cottage more or less habitable, we moved in and began restoring our land, growing our own food, incorporating animals, and getting stuck in on the first renovation project we'd ever done. Over the last few weeks, we've been sharing with you the year-long process that we've just been through of acquiring a little bit of extra land for our rescued donkey. It's been quite the journey, which you can watch in this video here, but finally the additional plot was ours. We then spent many weeks working really hard getting the space ready for him, clearing land, fencing, building a shelter, and finally introducing him to his new donkey paradise. But that was only the beginning. After such a long journey, finally the day arrived which we'd all been waiting for, and I'm sure many of you have too.
La grande.
Y la otra era Mariola.
Vamos.
We've got the worst shoes on for this. Look at you with your wellies and me with my Crocs.
Yeah, están todas sudadas por eso.
Por ahí tenía que ser.
Vamos.
Pues lleva razón.
Venga, vamos.
Finally, the new donkeys were here. Their names are Trini and Mariola. These are the names they came with, and we really liked them, so we ended up keeping them. We gave them plenty of food the first week or so they'd feel nice and at home. Meanwhile, we kept our male donkey Moses separated in a different terrace so they could all see each other and get used to one another's presence. Thankfully, the new girls seem to settle in really well, and they are both really lovely, friendly animals. Alright, it's time. I'm letting them all in. That's okay. Seems to be alright.
Hey.
Oh, watch out, Moses. You're going to get kicked.
Hey.
They're not best friends yet. This is why we need 2 feeders at the moment, because they're a little bit territorial, possessive over the food. They don't like to share with each other just yet, but they'll be fine. They'll get used to each other. Moses is just clearly still bonded with us rather than with the new girl, so that will take its time to resolve.
Shall I feed that one too?
No, I filled that one this morning. They've just eaten it super quickly.
So much for the slow feeder.
I only put a tiny bit in because I knew we were going to fill this up later. So today I'm going to be putting the walls up for the donkey shelter. It's going to be a little bit awkward getting these boards in there, but I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm going to paint it in the same protective paint that we painted the roof posts in, and we'll paint these as well. Yeah, should go up quite easily and quickly. think I'll have to invent a better way of getting these into the field. It's a bit awkward. And they're really heavy. Well, they're not that heavy, they're just awkward. Okay. Alright, I'm missing some vital equipment here, which is clamps and a spirit level. So let's go and get that. And hopefully the donkeys don't give this a big chew while I've gone, because look what they've done to the post. I need to get this painted ASAP. And this one a little bit as well. I don't know who did this. I think it was one of these girls, because Moses has never... Oh yeah, you come to eat this as well? As if we don't feed you enough. Yeah, Moses never did anything like this with the posts in his old shelter, so I think these two are to blame. Spiky bush here, I should have moved that about 2 days ago. Ugh. But now it's it's been there so long, I just can't be bothered to move it. I've just got used to walking around it and getting spiked. Alright, that's that done. By the way, I'm not sure we ever showed you how my concrete bases turned out. I'm really happy with these. Just elevated the back posts of the hay shelter up a little. Still some wood left on that. They've just elevated it up a little bit, 30 centimetres or so, just to get a bit of extra height. Anyway, now I'm going to do the bit I've been excited about for ages, which is painting. Oh, look a mess. Yeah, we're going to paint the OSB board in very water resistant extreme conditions paint. Hopefully that'll keep it protected enough out here. We'll have to see. But yeah, I've been looking forward to this job for ages. I like painting, so let's get started. By the way, donkeys are all in together and they are all friends now, so at least I think what's going on there is friendly. Especially Moses and Mariola, the little one. I think that's an affectionate nibble going on there. Little sniff. So yeah, if you were worried about the hullabaloo and all the fuss when they first came into the same space together, rest assured they're all best of friends now. We are out of paint and I haven't even got all the way around the outside yet, so we're going to need quite a lot more. But yeah, that was really fun. Am I covered in paint or is it the camera screen that's a little bit splashed? Right, I'm going to get your nose out the way. You're posing for the cover picture. Could be good, couldn't it? Get that out of the way. Right, let's actually get to work. Okay, we're done. It's looking really good. It's very hard to tell the colour with all the sun, but it's a really nice dark green, and I think it looks, yeah, it looks nice. Happy with it. That's not gonna fly anymore, is it, Una? Look what you've done to it. Come on, let's go. Hold on. Come on, Jake. So something we get asked a lot is why we have the donkeys. Pretty much every time they appear in a video, we get questions about why do we have them, what are they for? And well, not that every animal has to have a productive purpose. Some animals are just nice. Why do we have cats, for example? But yeah, we've... But yeah, I've just always really liked donkeys. I've always thought they were really cute, despite one of my first memories being kicked by a donkey. But I've obviously got over that, and I just think they're really nice animals. They do have a different sort of vibe to horses. Donkeys, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because they're like less flighty and a bit more placid and chill. I don't know what it is. Let me know if you know what I mean. But yeah, I've always just really liked them. And the other main reason is that they are a really good converter of cheap inputs into manure, which we can obviously then use in the garden. We can compost, and that is just such an enormous bonus to us that I think it well makes feeding one donkey worth it. We now have 3. If there was ever a time to become a donkey supporter on Patreon, now is that time. But yeah, one donkey produces a great amount of manure from really cheap inputs, and that is a huge reason why we really love keeping donkeys. This is alfalfa. This is actually not the cheapest input, but they really like it. They only get a little bit though, and then we've got straw down here. So I am taking the donkeys out, 1 out a day at the moment, to go on a walk, or sometimes I just take them to a different area of our land so they can eat a little bit of stuff that's growing on the ground. There's loads of stuff growing at the moment. I'm not giving them a huge amount. It's literally like 2 wedges of straw and 1 wedge of alfalfa. That will be more than enough. Even this is probably overfeeding them a little bit, to be honest. I think they're all a little bit overweight. Anyway, let's go. Right. There we go. Thankfully, they mostly poo in the same spot, so I can come back and pick up a pretty big pile, and it's not too much work, it's quite efficient. I haven't figured out either the ideal situation for getting the manure out of here and into the composting areas. Whether we might need a different kind of access down near the polytunnel end of this field so that we can hop over to the polytunnel where the composting bays are. Not quite sure yet. So at the moment I've just got this like intermediary pile accumulating in the corner of this field, which is the easiest thing for now. I think after just using this field for a while and seeing how everything goes, I'll have a clearer idea of what would be like most convenient, but this is the system we've got for now. In the past, I've sometimes been quite lazy with the compost, with the manure, and literally just taken it out in a bucket, dumped it in a bed, covered it with straw, mixed it in a little bit, covered it with straw, and then left it for like a year. I did that last winter in a bunch of beds that I didn't think I was going to touch, and we got really good soil as a result. It just kind of composted in place, and I didn't touch it for like a year, and that was great, but that's fine if you're not going to use the bed for a while. And then in some of my raised beds, I also put some donkey manure, not very well composted, right at the bottom, so that was a bit lazy as well. But for actual aged compost, we have the compost bays at the back of the garden, and I'm just going to go and turn that compost now and see what it's looking like. That manure has been in there composting for at least 6 months at this point, maybe a bit more. This will be maybe the second time turning it, I can't really remember. Okay, this is the only field in the farm that I didn't strim a couple of weeks ago when I went and strimmed everywhere else, so excuse the mess. Well, it's not hot, it's not steaming, but it's not dry either. It's looking all right. Whew. It's hard work. If this area was all strimmed, I would have tried to move the entire pile into the next bay along, but it's just not easy with all the weeds. So I just wanted to get a look at it really, and it's looking good. I have finally been getting back in our big garden lately. I haven't really worked in here in over a year due to a combination of water shortages and just being busy with Santi, so I was only growing in raised beds. However, these raised beds are not doing brilliantly at the moment because they're all very shaded, which was great for summer, but now in winter stuff just isn't growing as fast as it should and things are looking a little bit stunted, so I wanted to get some things planted out in the full sun. These seeds are quite old and at the bottom of the pack some of them have been eaten. This one's just been completely chomped in half, so I'm just going to sow them all, see what comes up. I sowed several beds of broad beans and I planted spinach, artichoke, leeks, chard, garlic, celery and peas. I was surprised to find that it really didn't take that long to reclaim the beds that I needed, and it felt so good to see the garden look a little bit tidier. In the beds where I'd left donkey manure a year previously and covered them with straw, I now found a really lovely, loose, rich soil. There was such a stark difference between these beds and the ones which hadn't had this treatment. Seeing this contrast really convinced me that maybe some sort of rotation system where I leave half the beds for a year with manure composting in place could be an easy way to manage this garden going forward, especially since I want to make it a lot smaller anyway. Despite being abandoned for a good year, it was really cool to see how much was actually still growing here, including quite a lot of self-seeded things. I found a couple of rocket plants, calendula, enormous kale plants, what I think is kohlrabi, and of course the citrus trees are really bringing the garden alive at the moment in the winter with their burst of colour. So I just had to dig up this little Nispero loquat seedling that seemed to have seeded itself and is doing quite well. So it was just growing over here where I was laying the path. So we're going to pop it in the middle of this bed here. Nina, shoo, shoo. I don't want to overdo it with this garden. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 beds along here at the moment, and I think I'm just going to do the beds along in front of the water deposit and not go any further. I might just tidy up some of these over here that are bordered with the tiles because they're quite tidy as it is, and there's some perennial stuff in here, so there's no point dismantling them. There's lots of lavender, mint. We've got some berry bushes here. I cannot remember what kind of berries these are, but they seem to be doing alright, so we'll leave them and see how they get on. We've got an enormous sage plant here which needs a bit of a trim. Lots of self-seeded calendula, lots of weeds in amongst all of this as well, but these beds are really not too bad, so yeah, I'm going to keep these beds, and everything else basically is going to be for trees. So we've got this fig tree here in this bed, which I used to have more than just a tree in here. As you can see, there's like the remains of a big old cabbage and stuff that we're still feeding to the chickens. But yeah, basically, although I've had a burst of inspiration for the garden right now, I don't want to make it too big and give myself too much work to do all spring and summer. So we're going to keep it small, and we're just going to put a tree in this area here. This is my least favourite kind of weed, for sure, because the seeds are horrible. They get stuck to you, get stuck to your clothes. So I'm putting up loads of this stuff right now, and we're going to go and see if the donkeys like it. Let's see if the donkeys like this. Ooh, hold on a minute. That's Trini. Hey, good job. Here comes Mariola. These feeders, by the way, have been a huge success. The fact that they can get in from both sides, so they're not both arguing over the same area, is great. So Maisie's coming around here. They're both good. Different designs, both equally good. This one's good for just dumping absolutely anything in the bottom. And the other one is really good for holding bales of hay, so yep. Success. After just a few days working in the garden, this is how it was looking. I was so happy to see it starting to look more like a tended garden again. I just hope I can keep up with the maintenance this time and that we can begin enjoying big harvests again like we used to.